Yo, we are back with another episode number 51. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. That includes Instagram and Twitter at WRGO Pod, YouTube, where this video will be in its entirety. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, all of that. I am joined by our usual crew, Henry, that includes Henry, and our third member, McKenize Marshall. McKenize, how are you?
Well, damn, I don't get it. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Henry, how are you?
Go ahead, McKenzie. Go talk to McKenzie. You know that's your fave.
Don't be bitter.
No, I was just gonna say, like, everything is good.
How's
still employed, staying safe.
How's the good news? Or can we talk about that?
Sure,
I thought about it, but I didn't want.
For sure, why not?
Our producer got credentials, okay? Credentials, okay? But go ahead.
I work at the New York Times. I just got a job offer a few weeks ago, so this is my first week. So I mean, yeah. Other than that, happy to be employed, happy to be safe. There we go.
That is so awesome.
New York Times.
We love to see us win. We
truly do. All right, so we're going to get into this news. As always, like Mackenzie said, she is safe because she is in the coronavirus capital of the United States, known as New York City. So they just, Henry sent this to the doc, or to the chat. They just passed a coronavirus relief package. House Democrats did. That includes $3 trillion for COVID relief. It includes $1 trillion for state and local governments. It includes a second payment of $1,200 to individuals and up to $6,000 per household, $200 billion for hazard pay, $75 billion for testing, $175 billion in rent, mortgage, and utility assistance, $10 billion in emergency small business disaster funding. And so far, Republicans have said they don't want another aid package and have been pushing liability protection for businesses. Henry and McKenzie, I don't know what y'all thoughts are on the bill. It looks like it's not gonna pass, but it seems like we need to have a conversation about this, especially this second payment of $1,200. We need to talk about that.
But now on some real stuff, it's not gonna pass in Senate or whatever, in my personal belief, because the Republicans hold it up, and then two, like you just said, they don't necessarily want it to pass because they're trying to, in my opinion, have the economy rejuvenate itself, and you know what I'm saying, they take credit for it because of whatever. But like, I definitely think this is like going to be a bargaining point or like a negotiation point for Democrats for them to go back in and, you know what I'm saying, move some stuff around. Because essentially, like, especially with how the economy is continuing to tank, the lack of like testing, unemployment is continuously going up. Like, we could just go across the board with like issues continue to get worse instead of better. It just comes a time and point where the government has to once again step in and do something, because you have citizens who are not able to like live and afford, you know what I'm saying, from anything to like pharmaceutical products to rent.
Right. So, Mackenzie, how say you?
I don't think it will pass, but I do think that maybe something smaller will pass that helps people and help Americans. But I don't really have an opinion on this because I don't think it'll pass, or like whatever comes out of it, I don't think is going to be like anything crazy, because we joke about the $1,200, but realistically, what did that $1,200 really do, you know, for most people? So even another $1,200, not to say that, you know,
okay, I ain't gonna lie, that $1,200 got somebody not
But you got a job. I'm talking about
no. I'm not talking about me personally. If I was about to say somebody I know was about to get evicted if the stimulus came and pushed through. So, you know what I'm saying? You never know anybody's situation. That $1,200 didn't directly, you know what I'm saying, influence or influx our lives because we have jobs. We're stable, air quotes. So we good. But like, people are struggling, you know what I'm saying, for unemployment. I know a lot of people who have filed for unemployment, which we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, I know a lot of people who have filed for unemployment who have not received benefits, and they've been out of work for going on 2 months, 3 months. You know what I'm saying? So what are they doing?
I think for me, my biggest thing is that, like, since Mackenzie's in Brooklyn,
Because the system is messed up.
facts. Because like Mackenzie, like you're in Brooklyn, and if you kind of like think about the logical step, like when's the earliest New York could even open? So like, what are those people who are in like service industries? How are they, like Henry said, how are they going to get income? Like unemployment can only go but so far. But like, so if you're in Brooklyn and you work at a bar that's closed, how are they going to get any type of income knowing that like people in New York are going to be in quarantine like for like the longest period of time? So I'm kind of with you that it won't pass, but I do think that we need to like, we got to think of something to like get people income, because like for people in New York or for people in like the hardest hit areas, they're gonna be like Henry and I, like we're in DC. It's not like good in DC and it's getting worse. Like we're gonna be in a house for a little while. So if you don't have income, I think the government needs to like figure out what are they gonna do instead of just being like, we're gonna reopen when like, are we?
Yeah.
Even with that reopening, and we're talking about like essential workers, a lot of small businesses shut down and won't reopen. So that's gonna play a part also. And then with that, like I personally think, and I could be wrong, like people are gonna be hesitant with like hiring new people because that's, you know what I'm saying, that's a new employer they gotta provide health care for. Right? We're talking about service workers, you know what I'm saying? That's somebody they, you know what I'm saying, spending bread on when they could just kind of overschedule these people because they know the predicaments.
Yeah, I mean that's what Amazon's doing.
Yeah.
Talk about it. We actually need to talk about him.
Yeah,
we do. We need to talk about how like, so at the end of the month for a lot of workers, their like hazard pay is coming up. Like they won't add, like they'll stop it, including Amazon, including who else? Like Instacart, all of these workers, these essential workers, whatever, are coming to a close. Maybe they'll renew, maybe they won't, but that's a serious thing. If they're gonna continue to work while states, especially in states that are closed, then they definitely should still be getting hazard pay.
Definitely.
No, that's big facts.
And then, some people aren't even getting hazard pay.
No, there are people who work for the DC government who I know who are doing like service stuff. They're not getting hazard pay for any of the stuff they're doing, but that's another conversation. So another topic that is coming up and that will be coming up over the next couple months is Biden's VP list. He has formed a selection committee to help him select his running mate in March during a debate. He pledged to nominate a woman as his vice president. The short list. Right. He didn't say that. He did not say that specifically.
He didn't say that in that debate.
Nope. He said he will nominate a woman to be his vice president, and he said he will nominate a black woman.
I retract my statement.
And he said he'll put a black woman on the Supreme Court. So the short list includes Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Amy Klobuchar, and Representative Val Demings of Florida, who's getting a lot of attraction. In the doc, I have Stacey Abrams, but I guess we can have just a conversation in two ways. We can start with this part first. Who do you want to see as his vice president, and does it matter?
Eat me up, Kamala. It's like, what? Okay. Elizabeth Warren would be a great, cool choice.
Definitely not going to be Warren. Definitely not.
That's what I'm saying. She would be a great, cool choice, but no, that's not going to work. If he picked Amy Klobuchar, you're trying to lose.
So it's definitely not going to be Warren, and it's definitely.
And then this Val Demings person, who is that?
Who is that?
She was one of the. She's from Orlando. She's a former police chief. She was.
Let's do a quick Google search.
Right.
No, I got you. She's a former police chief of Orlando. She was one of the members who helped impeach Trump. Really smart. She's really good. She's young-ish. She's in like I think her 40s or early 50s.
She's black too, but
she
nobody
don't know
who she is.
63 years old. She is 63.
I retract my. That's young compared to Biden.
It definitely is, because he about a good 12, 13 older. However, I don't know, bro. I'm really like with this list. The only two, he gotta pick a black woman. Like I've been saying that he got to. Like if he don't pick a black woman, you're asking to lose.
I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't, though.
I wouldn't be shocked. It's politics. I would not be shocked. If he didn't pick a black woman, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, my food. No. The strategic thing to do, if y'all really on this beat, Trump, we got it, whatever. And the Democrats been like, Hillary came out and said he got that same coalition. He do. Like all the big power movers in the Democrats have stood behind him and supported him and endorsed him. So it's like, we want him to win. It's clear. You know what I'm saying? And with that, if y'all really want him to win and y'all really trying to like tell your, because the DNC done messed up a lot with us particularly.
Or I'll say,
if they trying to talk to their core base, they have no choice but to pick a black woman. Like who else gonna pick?
And this can be a question for both of you, but like, does Kamala move your needle that much?
She don't, but like she a trusted name. She don't. That's why I said eat me up, because the thing, I understand Kamala, because the thing is like people always say, you know what I'm saying, to change the system, you gotta get in the system. She's literally the optimal example of that.
I'm with you. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna talk about it, talk about it. All Democrats are hard on crime and hard on drugs, and now but she was during Bill Clinton's era and forward. You know what I'm saying? What's she gonna do? Completely ignore the goddamn legislation that's placed before her as a prosecutor and be like, oh, I can't do this. I'm pretty sure she didn't go in there and argue the fucking maximum, because if you look at her record, it proves that.
It's mixed, but we talked about that.
You know what I'm saying? It depends.
It's mixed. McKenzie,
you know
jump
what I'm saying? So
I feel like though, yes, like she is a part of the system, but I feel like a lot of the things that Black people have struggled to cope with and understand.
Young Black people, because older Black people will get behind Kamala.
But it's just a matter of like, she is a part of a system that has oppressed us. And like, I think if you are trying to cater to the younger audience, I guess it depends on who he's catering to. If he just care about the older people vote and that's all he needs to get them across the finish.
Well, not even, because like my opinion on that is like two ways also, because like I get what you're saying, but because I was like kind of going back and forth with somebody on Twitter about this the other day. I kind of have this like perspective on politics in general, and like it was referenced in our last episode when we talked about like Biden and the accusations. Like I've detached from it. Like my morals, sometimes you just have to be like, okay, we understand what's at place, and in order for us to make some type of progress, you have to, you know what I'm saying, negotiate, compromise, whatever. And with Trump, how he took us so far back to like this overt racism. And not only that, like with the economy, to like just how he's moving in the house, like some of his administration don't respect him. A lot of government agency heads don't respect him. Like a lot of people don't respect him. And this is a political figure, like even whether it was Republican or Democrat, there was, again, a bipartisan factor that plays part in people like play the game. And I just kind of personally feel like if we actually want to win this, we're going to have to play that game, play into the conservative politics, and like go with Biden in that older agenda. Now, the thing that comes about this that I'm personally like thinking about is like midterm elections. And we seen how that played its part with, you know what I'm saying, the squad, how they came through. It's so many more people out there like that. And
was that a question? Oh, you're
saying?
I
that's like a statement, but if I'm wrong, correct me. But I've seen it. We have to encourage our peers to get out there and actually do something instead of just talking on social media, because that was the big question in like the early polling states. Young people were not voting.
But young people, why weren't they voting though? Because the options weren't like.
Okay, so you gonna disengage or you just gonna complain?
I'm not going either way, but it is hard for me to stand on this hill to tell people to vote, which I definitely support. I think everybody needs to exercise their rights to vote. However, it is hard for me to convince people to vote for a person who, like Joe Biden, where are you? Where have you been? You not on, like, you were literally just a few months ago soliciting, going hard for these Black votes, and now that we're dying at disproportional rates, you're nowhere to be found. So it's hard for me to convince somebody to stand in line or take off work to vote when this guy is not even like speaking to you, when your family members are dying.
Bro, my cousin died 2 weeks ago. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? This shit has hit home for me. I understand, and I completely agree with you. I can't stand up on, you know what I'm saying? However, the circumstances at play, I personally think, like, we talked about this on the previous episode, the states that are opening up, they're happening to be Republican. So, like, to me, I definitely think it's some type of, like, background agenda. And I ain't even trying to talk about no conspiracy stuff, but, like, there's an agenda to suppress voting. And, like, I was listening to, like, this little Biden and Stacey Abrams did, like, some type of situation. And I seen a clip where Biden was saying, and I heard Trump say this too, where well, one, we know he's trying not to, like, fund the postal service, like United States Postal Service. And then two, he said, like, openly that doing that will like kind of ensure that Republicans don't, you know what I'm saying, win largely. So is, to me, that literally says, like, it's an agenda, voter suppression, and, like, to speak directly to that, and we talking about Georgia and myself, and, like, how all of this shit is just, like, in my mind, how I'm thinking about it, is like, I seen what happened with Georgia's governor's race. She tried to file lawsuits and X, Y, and Z, but, like, where did that go? And then on top of that, like, we have this, we already know it's an embedded, you know what I'm saying, system that plays its part. So we have our cards. We either gonna, you know what I'm saying, finesse and get these books, or throw that shit up and be like, fuck it, redeal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my thing, is that I think no matter who, to continue on with, like, just the VP thing, like, I don't think VP picks don't tend to matter too much in terms of vote. It's just kind of like, here's how you kind of have the image of contrasting, and VPs are only impact if you have, like, a Sarah Palin who's just bad and then will just F you up. I just think it's interesting that I think that this is kind of like where we're dealt. And I think that if anyone kind of said, like, but I do think, because I personally believe that Kamala is going to be the VP. And I think that she just has some issues. And I think and I think as Black people, I think some people get uncomfortable talking about it, or they take a criticism of her.
But, yeah, like, this is my thing. What is the main, like, what's the real issue with her for real? Because, again, like, when you think...
I'll start. I think that, and we've talked about it, and I think we have given her record on criminal justice more, we've been more honest about it than she has. I think that she kind of takes this approach where she's just kind of like, well, I did some things. And it's like, well, okay, like, your record is good and your record is bad, but you have to, like, don't take me for a fool. Say why what you did is bad and what you've learned from it. Like,
okay, look, I hear you, but none of them white people doing it. None of them white people are doing it, and that be my problem with y'all. Y'all really be trying, not y'all, but people generally literally try to hold Black people to a higher standard. Biden didn't clear nothing up. Amy Klobuchar got a worse record, didn't clear nothing up, but she continued.
I understand that. The funny thing is, I generally understand that. But I think that for Kamala, and I think we all think this internally, she has issues with coming across as someone who's like, she seems very inauthentic at times. And that's not me being overly critical. That's just me observing her speeches, how she comes across. She seems almost overly calculated to the point where it's like,
she's a career-driven woman who's focused on
and I get that.
I listen. I'm being like a devil's advocate right now, because what I'm trying to do is, I gotta stick up for her. Like, I can't let nobody bad mouth her.
But the thing about you trying to stand up for her in a way like she did something wrong. It comes out like the white people doing something wrong, so the Black girl can do something wrong, and we can, like, no.
I'm not saying that. I am saying.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
The thing is, if they doing something wrong, now they need to be held accountable too.
And
everyone needs to be held accountable.
That's what I'm trying to do.
If
I'm not doing it correctly, please, you know what I'm saying, check me. However,
everyone needs to be held accountable. But we talking about Kamala.
We're not holding people accountable across the board. We did not hold everybody accountable across the board. Kamala had a whole hate campaign, bro. Kamala had a whole hate campaign, whole smear campaign. What other nominee had that much hate online?
Answer that. That's a different conversation. That's a different conversation.
Yeah,
I'm talking about holding people accountable.
But I'll say, like Henry, I'm trying to say this is that like, yes, Kamala got more scrutiny than Amy Klobuchar, who has a similar record. But Kamala was she was a attorney general of the biggest state in the country, and she did not answer questions that are real. Like, I have genuine questions about that. I'm
not discrediting those questions. I'm not trying to like make them seem, you know what I'm saying, like whatever.
She never really like. I'm just saying that she has not really addressed the issues. Has she?
I'm not disagreeing with that.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Has she addressed them head on? Listen, I did these things, and this is what I'm planning to do to recover that, my bad, or whatever. We wouldn't be discussing. But the fact that when those questions were brought up and she kind of brushed over it, it's like, sis, no.
And the funny thing is, I'm supportive of her. But I just have my questions. Like,
listen, we trying to inform the people, right? So we have to give different perspective. I'm being like a devil's advocate because, again, like, I get you. I understand. Like, she does need to be held accountable. She do need to insist.
But I think it's to be honest, and I think this is me being like real. It's multiple things. I think she needs to be held accountable, and I also think that like if she's not the most engaging politician in the world, she's very calculated, and it can almost come across as inauthentic. Like, i.e., our Howard University commencement. Like, I'll be real, she did not play that well in that room. I know that was not just me, but I think that she does have issues, or she does not come across as a very authentic person. And not everyone comes across as that. Some people are very calculated, and I think that she is a very smart woman who is very career driven, who is very by the book, to the point. I just don't know sometimes, and that's just it. That's just me. Sometimes I
think she just as calculated as Hillary Clinton. So.
That's okay. That
is okay.
But that's the thing, though, because people don't like. Again,
I just incriminated myself for my job for saying that.
No, but that's the thing. When we talk about like politics and how politics has been, you know what I'm saying, has operated in America, it's literally a prototype of what it is, right? Older white conservative males, and they have this dominance, and then slowly you see like black men into that space, and again they are very misogynistic and presented a dominance. Then you see women slowly entering that space, right?
Oh, and I mean, that's definitely a factor. Like, Kamala is receiving more
think about
because she is a black woman. I wouldn't be able to sit here and say that she's not.
That's what I'm saying. So when we saying Hillary Clinton and Kamala, the two things that people didn't like are what you're saying. They're not personable. They don't come off as authentic or whatever. When like a white man can do like, you know what I'm saying, come off that same way.
I get the point. I get the point that you're saying. I think where it gets wrapped up is that I feel like Mackenzie and I are not reaching. Like, I feel like we're not just like pulling something out of thin air.
I'm not saying that. I guess again, being the devil's advocate, I'm just posing the point of view of, bro, like, you know that.
I mean, sexism is a real thing in politics. That's real.
Right, it is. And y'all kind of sound misogynistic because if she was a black man,
I would have the same damn question.
I don't think so.
I would. I'd have the same.
I don't know, bro.
People was coming at Cory Booker. Like,
I'd have the same.
Cory Booker, what's.
No, but there's a difference. Cory Booker was not an AG who defended the death penalty, who basically voted against holding police accountable. That's what I think. I think my frustration is that there's real stuff there. It's not like we're just saying like, oh, I'm not like nitpicking her. where she has stuff that she advocated for in real time and put her name on it. And that's a part of her record. And she needs to go out, and that's saying that she needs to defend her decisions, but she at least needs to add context of like, hey, I did this, I was wrong, and here's what I like. There's just, I think, a natural full circle of things that she hasn't done. Because Joe Biden, even though it's totally different, and I don't think we've given him enough shade for it, Joe Biden has had to sit on the sword on many different issues, and I don't think Kamala's had to do that.
Do you want to talk about our last episode? And we didn't talk about Stacey Abrams and how she about to get slack for basically, you know what I'm saying, trying to discredit, allegedly discredit some people's allegations. And
I mean, she's not allegedly discrediting the allegations.
You know, we got 9 minutes. We've been talking that long.
Yeah, that was a minute.
Time flies. But I mean, so Henry, set the stage for people who don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so recently somebody tweeted, and it's about to become like a viral tweet because the last time I looked at it, it was like 10,000 likes on it. And then he went on to like put 3 articles, and I want to make sure I get the sources correct because, you know what I'm saying, I would like y'all to read the articles, form y'all opinion on it. I didn't personally retweet it because I was like, in good faith, I can't do this. I can't do it.
Tell us.
So basically, Stacey Abrams I don't want to say went on record, but she basically spoke on like Joe Biden's sexual assault allegations. And she
really deferred the question.
Right. She didn't really you know what I'm saying, definitively defend him, but she spoke to where it kind of like, I don't want to say push it out, but it just, you know, moved past it. Kind of like what we referenced again in our last episode, like nobody has fully addressed these issues and like held him accountable. And back to that point of what Noah was saying earlier, where you're saying like Joe Biden has had to sit on this box and explain stuff. Where and when? Because
I wasn't not on the sexual assault stuff.
Not even that. The crime bill. When he talked about that, he said, I wrote it. I apologize. I'm sorry.
I think it's deeper than that, but that's just, we can disagree on that. We can just disagree on it. I think for me, and I think this is where I would like to get your thoughts, is that I think that what Stacey Abrams did to me strikes like an interesting thing that I think we didn't talk about on our last episode, is that what's the space where I think a lot of Democrats are kind of falling in, where I think that they would say in a vacuum that they, you know, we have to believe women when they come through. But now that Biden is the nominee, there's clearly a different tone.
And that's the politics.
Yeah. I mean, is it? I guess that's maybe my thing. Is that is it really politics? It's just like
I literally think that's the politics of it. Seriously, like I definitely think it's the politics of it, because it can literally, like, her being the powerhouse that Stacey Abrams is, like, she gained national attention from a governor's race. Do y'all understand that? And then she's still relevant to this day, talked about all the time in the news, as if she's actually in a position. She's not in a position right now. Y'all understand that, right? So she, like, literally, she has some type of influence. So, like, let's say Stacey Abrams went on record saying, yeah, like, I believe whomever, and I think he needs to be held accountable, and this needs to happen, and blah, blah, blah. You don't think that's going to have, like, a ripple effect of so many people supporting this man?
I think it would, but I think what I was getting at was that I think it shows kind of the nature of still how we've made improvements on how we treat sexual assault, but also
exactly. And that's what goes back to our episode when we talked about that Me Too stuff. Like, what was the Me Too movement for real? What actually happened? What progress was made? Because again, we're converting back to the same stuff. So if we gonna, again, this word accountability popped up several times during this conversation. If we gonna hold people accountable, start pressing charges. Start making these people lose their companies. Start making these people lose their jobs. Stop letting them get the easy way out to where
that's not fair. That's not fair. Because it takes a lot of courage to step forward and do all of that. Then when we saw with, what's her name, Dr. Blasey Ford, it was the whole hearing. They did the most just to not even do anything about it.
And that's my
So
thing.
it's like, well, what's the point?
And that's again, how do we actually make progress or actually address these situations when they play a part in politics? Our relationships as peers, job relationships, anything. Like Me Too put a whole you know what I'm saying? It put a tone out there, right? And then that tone was observed by so many people, and nothing was done about it. So that emotion just, you know what I'm saying, seemingly just goes away. And that same natural, but not natural, but that same behavior starts to take part. And
on the Biden front, I'm actually surprised that like a member of Congress or a prominent person hasn't said like that he shouldn't be the nominee. I'm actually surprised that no one has said that yet. I
feel like it's been said behind closed doors for
politics,
but no one's been public with it, and to me, that's my biggest surprise. I'm surprised no one has just said like. So
y'all agree that politics?
I agree with politics, but I like I said, I think it just gets to an interesting. It gets to an interesting thing, which I think what I'm trying to say is that if we are really taking the standpoint of that we believe women, what does that actually mean when shit gets real? And I think that this is just an interesting,
and that's
manifestation of that. I think this is an interesting.
I think that's a bigger conversation. But like again, how do we even address that when our current president has been accused of so much, and like they just continue to let that pass? They, like Mackenzie said, they just nominated a Supreme Court justice who has been accused of said things and just let that pass. They've nominated a Supreme Court justice before who was accused of such things and just let it pass. So again, like this system is embedded into America, right? And that's why
you talking about Anita Hill?
Yeah.
Oh, and Joe Biden. Didn't Joe Biden have a hand in that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Again, this system that's embedded in America. This system embedded within America. My personal stance is you either gonna participate and try to, you know what I'm saying, make as much change as you can, or you're gonna completely disengage, because a revolution, where, how, and when.
Yeah, I think it just gets to an interesting thing. Is that I think eventually, I'm just interested to see when that first part, because it's gonna keep happening until it doesn't. And when is that time when it?
And that's the bigger question. Because I'm ready for that day for people to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? And that's what.
But then it's a matter of like, okay, so.
I'm about to get ate up again. Okay, Harvey Weinstein, he got his day in court. But
don't say nothing crazy.
You know what I'm saying? I was about to. That's why I just said.
Don't say nothing crazy, please.
That's why I said Harvey Weinstein got his day in court. However, if I want to be a conspiracy theorist, you know, the NBC and all the other stuff and all that, it's like, we just gonna keep pushing. No, I see your face.
Because I'm really not trying to edit you out.
All right, so we about to hit y'all with the part 2. Drop the socials, and yeah, come on.
Mackenzie, you want to drop your stuff since you are our guest?
My social is _Mackenzie TM That's on all social media. Follow me.
Henry, do you want to drop your social media? I think we've never done that.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? If you got the market, you need small businesses, hit me up, because on the plug, I just got 3 clients this week. What's up? But for real, Last King Henry on everything. I do social media, digital marketing. You know what I'm saying? This really what's really going on. You know, we're gonna hit you with that outro. Make sure you subscribe, comment, share, like. Bro, we've been pushing our content, so I really need y'all to get on that. Like, we've been pushing good
young
content.
Black moguls in the making. Okay.
Let them know.
All right, so be sure to follow us. So thank you, Mackenzie, for coming on once again. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WRGO Pod. Be sure to subscribe, like, watch, listen on YouTube, which is where this video will be up in its entirety. Be sure to also subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Until the next time, we didn't even get to talk about half of the stuff in our document.
We gotta do the part 2, baby boy.
That's all good. So that's it.
You done recording?